Hi there, my name is Cameron Eastham and welcome to my video. Now today I'm going to be talking about Stuart Fryer. Stuart Fryer is a freelance writer and director that has worked on many projects such as music videos, adverts and films. I specifically want to talk about the music video Stuart Fryer made for Oasis. He made the music video for the song Some Might Say in 1995 as part of their album What's the Story? Morning Glory. Now first of all I want to start off by saying I really like the style of this video as it's very retro in design. The video is shot in a 4:3 ratio which helps give it that classic design from the 90s, and it has a high contrast black and white colour grade, which is something I am really a fan of because I tend to use black and white in many of my edits, whether that's in photography or videography. I also like how the contrast is set really high because it makes the image pop out more on the screen. Other than the things I've already said about Stuart Fryer's work for this video that inspire me, I want to talk about a few other things in general as well. Now, this video was shot back in 1995, so the things I just said about how it's made to look in a certain style of the 90s, well, in the 90s most videos were shot in 4:3 because that was the most current ratio everyone was tend to be using. But even though there are more ratios out there now, like the anamorphic one, which a lot of people tend to use when editing, I still believe the 4:3 ratio is a really nice look in many videos and films, even though it's not a very modern look nowadays. It gives to me the impression of a painting in a sense, because a lot of paintings are squares and to me it just looks more like a piece of art, but again it depends on the style. Now another thing which I want to note down is the fact that it's black and white. I've already said this before, but the way Stuart Fryer does this is by obviously boosting up the contrast, and then he uses a lot of jump cuts and flashes in the video as well, which help transition from one scene to the other, and that's something I'm a really big fan of, and I hope to implement into my own video for the final major project. For example, then in the video there's bright white flashes which transition into other scenes. The way that is done is by simply turning the camera on and off whilst the film is still going, because by doing that it overexposes and that causes the white flashing. But nowadays all the effects are done digitally, so I'd have to do something in Premiere Pro or whatever software I'm using in order to achieve that look. Unless I decided to do it in a more practical way by maybe using a light in front of a camera, but in a way that the camera obviously won't be able to see the actual light source. I do want to talk about how the video feels very natural. Even though there are certain scenes where they've obviously been told to walk in certain directions, they've been told to stand in front of the camera, or even when they're playing just on their own in a certain room with lights everywhere. Now what I mean is, it feels very natural because of how they're going about it and obviously how Stuart Fryer has told them to go about it. Now obviously with walking and obviously standing in front of the camera, there's not really much acting you can do. You just kind of do what you've told, and obviously however you naturally stand or however you naturally walk just kind of happens really. And that's also what helps it feel more natural. Even though they've been told what to do, they act natural about how they go about it. But another thing which makes the video feel a lot more natural is the fact that a lot of the clips where the band is playing at gigs, they're actually real. They're playing at gigs with thousands of people cheering to their songs, and they're obviously playing to them. And Stuart Fryer has obviously taken a camera down to those gigs and recorded what's going on at the time, and then he's obviously put those clips together and edited the music video using those clips. Now there is another shot in this music video where they are all the band are playing in a room just by themselves, and this is for the music video specifically. Now a lot of the time you will see Liam Gallagher pretty much in front of the camera singing the song Some Might Say. Now obviously this is still very natural because they're all singing the song that they've made and they're used to doing it, so they're going to just sing it and obviously go about it the same way as they usually do, apart from the fact that Liam's obviously going to be facing the camera and basically acknowledging that the camera is there. Apart from that, everything else is still very natural, and that is something that I really want to implement into my final major project. That naturalistic feeling, even if they're acting, even if they've been told to do something, I want it to still feel very natural. Now more on the topic of what I want to implement into my own final major project, there are a few things I've mentioned that I do want to include. For example, the 4:3 ratio. I really like this ratio for the reasons that I said before about it looking very artistic and very classic, very 90s in design. I'm really for it, and I think for the kind of direction I want to go for in my final major projects, I think it'd be a really good addition to the project. But I can never say for sure whether certain techniques are gonna obviously stay in the production when I've actually finished it, because I have a habit of maybe changing my mind once I see certain scenes in post-production. Like, I might think it might look good before I've shot it, but then once I've shot a scene and then I edit it in post-production, it might look better in a certain way. But anyway, another thing is it might also be in black and white. I don't know for sure, again, as I've said, but I might actually have it in black and white, because obviously the black and white adds to the classic 90s retro theme that I'm liking at the minute. And depending on what song that I do a music video for, because it's a music video I'm thinking of doing, it might actually work really, really well. Now, the flash cuts that I mentioned earlier on, I may implement into my work. They do inspire me, but I'm not sure whether I'm going to use them or not. Another technique that I would like to implement is the transitions that you see in music videos. Even this one, like with the camera turning before it might go on to another shot, stuff like that. I really want to keep the camera moving on certain shots, but I also want the camera to stay quite still, like it does in this music video as well. It's been showing throughout the video, because it really helps add attention and focus to whoever's on the screen at the time, depending on what certain technique you do, and obviously what's going on in the actual video itself. But Stuart Fryer is definitely an inspiration when it comes to videos and filmmaking, and I really will look to his work when I'm looking for ideas and inspiration that I want to put into my own work as well. But really, I think that is everything that I want to say regarding this topic. I just want to say a big thank you to everyone who's watched this video and listened, and I hope you have taken something away from it that might even inspire you. And to conclude this video, thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it. I've been Cameron Eastham, and adios amigos.